There's a genjutsu in the Naruto series that kinda breaks the universe because of its immense overpoweredness. Is that even a word? I don't know. Anyway, and you may say, well, there are several extremely powerful genjutsus like Tsukuyomi, Koto Amatsukami, the Frog Song, even something like Infinite Tsukuyomi, and yes, those jutsus are extremely powerful, but they're much more difficult to be acquired and they take a lot more chakra, and some of those even spend your own eyesight, so it's not the easiest thing for you to use, and you're not going to encounter a billion people that have access to it. But the problem with this genjutsu I'm claiming is completely broken is that it's much easier to cast, it's not costly when it comes to eyesight, it's not a jutsu that require a lot of steps like the Frog Song, or that's difficult for you to acquire, like unlocking a Mangekyo Sharingan. No, it's actually very simple. And the genjutsu I'm referring to here is the Ephemeral Genjutsu, aka the Finger Genjutsu. One of Itachi's signature abilities. Even though he only uses it once, it's a very impactful scene that most people remember well. Now, the problem with fighting against Uchiha clan members is that they have the Sharingan, and if you look at their eyes, it's very easy for them to cast an ocular genjutsu on you. That's a problem, it's gonna limit how you can fight against an Uchiha, especially if you don't have backup and someone that can break you out of the genjutsu, and I'm talking about regular Sharingan genjutsu here, nothing crazy like Tsukuyomi. Even the base Sharingan genjutsu that the Uchiha can cast without weaving hand signs by looking into your eyes can be extremely problematic and end the fight. I mean, that's exactly what happens when Orochimaru tries to capture Itachi way back in the day when Orochimaru was still in the Akatsuki, and Itachi soloed Orochimaru with a base Sharingan genjutsu. And we're not talking about a scrub or anything, it's Orochimaru, one of the 3 legendary Sanins, got soloed by a base Sharingan genjutsu. One-shot it, GG. So the obvious strategy that characters come up with in the Naruto series to fight against Uchihas is to simply not look into their eyes. And that makes complete sense. If you have to look into the Sharingan to be put under a genjutsu, then just don't look at the Sharingan. Yes, it's gonna be more complicated to fight without being able to look at the opponent's face, and sometimes the opponent may force you to look into his face like Itachi does to Kakashi, but at least you have a way to counter it. And that's exactly what Team Kakashi does when they encounter that Itachi body double in the Kazekage Rescue Arc. They emphasize how important it is not to stare into Itachi's eyes, and Chiyo even says, well, if we get put under a genjutsu, it's fine, it's 4 versus 1. Somebody else can break the person that got captured in the genjutsu, and that's gonna be fine. The problem was that Itachi has Tsukuyomi, so this strategy wouldn't work because Tsukuyomi takes a mere instant for it to activate. And yes, the target's gonna feel like it's days inside the illusion, but in reality, it's nothing, meaning that even an ally cannot shake the genjutsu out of you because there's simply no time. And that's why they were making sure not to stare into Itachi's eyes. And this could also prevent a regular Sharingan genjutsu to be casted, which would be a problem. I mean, it's not as though Itachi cannot use the regular genjutsu even if somebody's there to break you out of it. There are things you can do that are still useful, controlling the person for a brief time during the fight, distracting the opponent with a momentary Sharingan genjutsu. It is still dangerous. And Naruto is very aware of that danger, so much so that he definitely obeys Kakashi and he doesn't stare into Itachi's eyes. Which should work, right? It should negate Itachi's ocular genjutsu, which is a good thing. And yeah, technically it does. Itachi does not cast an ocular genjutsu on Naruto, however, that's when the extremely OP genjutsu we're talking about comes in. The Ephemeral is a different type of genjutsu that Itachi uses because it's not an ocular genjutsu. Rather, Itachi uses his finger to induce the genjutsu on the target. The implication being that he literally shoots chakra with his finger that hit the target, and that's how the target is put under a genjutsu. The chakra that you shoot from the finger takes over, affects your senses, disturbs your chakra, and everything that a genjutsu does. And even though Naruto pretty quickly realized he was under a genjutsu, he just couldn't break out of it. As soon as the genjutsu is cast, he sees his team on the ground as if they were defeated, and then a flock of crows and Itachi appears. Yeah, Itachi's not even trying to hide Naruto's Finger Genjutsu, and even though Naruto trained with Jiraiya during the time skip, specifically to break out of Genjutsu because Jiraiya was aware Sasuke had the Sharingan and would be casting Sharingan Genjutsu on Naruto if they ever fought again, which is something that Jiraiya kind of figured would happen, Naruto is simply unable to break out of it by himself. Now yes, obviously Itachi is an extremely proficient Genjutsu user, and maybe somebody less powerful that would have used the jutsu on Naruto, or maybe if Naruto was better at breaking out of Genjutsu, then the Genjutsu could be countered, but Naruto was trained in breaking free of Genjutsu and he couldn't do it. Now on top of pretty much paralyzing Naruto's physical body, Itachi also puts Naruto through a little bit of torture in that Genjutsu, and that torture is pretty good. I mean, from a torture perspective, like, it's really good at disturbing the target. Like, torture itself is not exactly a great thing, but you get what I mean. First, when Naruto tries to resist the Genjutsu, he transforms the crows that were rushing against him into shurikens, and the shurikens just hit him and hurt Naruto. After that, his body starts to become other people. Like, half of his face turns into Curse Mark II Sasuke in a very disturbing way. Sakura's face pops out of his stomach. He sees Gaara's eye in his hand, which must be a terrible sensation. And obviously the things they were telling Naruto, that he is a failure, that he's a terrible person because he couldn't save them and everything, that's a very effective way to affect somebody psychologically. Also, the implication here is that Itachi can read Naruto's mind in a way, because Itachi had never seen Curse Mark II Sasuke before, and yet the one that appears on Naruto's face is Curse Mark II Sasuke. So how did Itachi know how Curse Mark II Sasuke looked like? I mean, maybe you could say Zetsu told the Akatsuki about the fight in the Valley of the End because Zetsu was watching, and therefore he could have told Itachi, yeah, Sasuke used the curse mark, he becomes like weird with gray skin, blue hair, and wings and stuff. So maybe you can explain it that way, which would make the Genjutsu not as broken, because at least then you can't read the opponent's mind to project something that's terrifying for them. But regardless, the Genjutsu is powerful nonetheless. And yes, sure, Chiyo and Sakura break Naruto out of the Genjutsu, and he managed to resume fighting against Itachi, so much so that he deals the finishing blow on that body double with the Odama Rasengan. So obviously when it comes to sheer power, this Genjutsu doesn't even come close to Tsukiyomi, which is impossible to break out of, and once you get hit by Tsukiyomi, it's pretty much certain that you're not gonna win the fight, you're just gonna collapse. The only time that doesn't happen is when Sasuke counters Tsukiyomi in his final fight against Itachi, and he was only able to do that because of his Sharingan prowess. A regular person without a Sharingan wouldn't be able to counter Tsukiyomi that way. They would have to endure the torture. And then you may say, well, sure, it's a good Genjutsu, but it's nothing spectacular. I mean, Chiyo and Sakura broke Naruto out of it. Yes, it's extremely potent in a 1v1 fight, but that's pretty much every Genjutsu. If the target can break out of the Genjutsu by himself, and if you cast the Genjutsu properly, then you win the fight. But this Genjutsu goes beyond, and it's specifically because of how Itachi casts the Genjutsu. It's a very clever tactic to use the finger, because Itachi is aware that most people that know who he is and know the Uchiha's powers are not going to stare into his eyes, so they're gonna look down, right where his finger could be, which means it can just point, and that's it. Also, there's the implication that you don't even need to look at the finger for the Genjutsu to work, because the finger is shooting the Genjutsu at you. It's not like the Sharingan that's kind of hypnotizing you, so you have to have eye contact with it. So technically, you can cast the Genjutsu to somebody that's not even aware of your presence, and that's not looking at you whatsoever, so it would be great at ambushes, for example, and several Genjutsus work like that. Kurenai's Genjutsu, for example, she weaves hand size and affect a target that's close to her with a Genjutsu, and Kabuto's Genjutsu that he uses in the Chunin exams arena, he affected an entire population essentially, and obviously most of those people weren't looking at Kabuto when he was casting the Genjutsu. Now obviously Kabuto's Genjutsu there was much easier to break out of, so much so that Gen and Shikamaru, Gen and Sakura, they break out of it easily. The only people who didn't break out of the Genjutsu were people who weren't aware a Genjutsu was being cast on them, and also people that are not ninjas and therefore wouldn't have control of their chakra to release the Genjutsu. Itachi's Genjutsu is different though. First of all, you don't have a very clear cue that something is happening with those plumes falling in the Chunin exams arena, for example. He just points the finger finger at you and you get affected by the genjutsu, and then you have to break out of it, which seems much more difficult than breaking out of Kabuto's genjutsu there. But also because you can cast the genjutsu with your finger, most people so happen to have 10 of those. And even though Itachi only affects one target with his index finger, there's nothing saying Itachi couldn't cast several ephemeral genjutsus at the same time, or at least in quick sequence. So even if there is somebody there helping you out during the fight that can break you out of a genjutsu, if Itachi points his right hand at you and his left hand at your ally, I guess you're both under his genjutsu and he just wins the fight. And if there's a platoon of ninjas surrounding Itachi, he can just use a finger gun barrage and shoot several genjutsus at everyone, and everybody's gonna be under ephemeral. And yes, you can make up a rule that only one ephemeral genjutsu can be activated at the same time, so you limit the power of the jutsu, but as it stands, we just don't see that being a thing. And you may even say that no, actually this is a regular genjutsu rule, you can only use it on one target at a time, which is just not true. Like, first of all, I was just talking about Kabuto's massive AoE genjutsu in the Chunin exams arena, but we have several other examples like the Frog Song, which affects 3 paths of pain at the same time, the genjutsu Kotetsu uses before the written test of the Chunin exams where he fools a crowd of Genins into going to the wrong room, the second Mizukage's Clam genjutsu that affects an entire battalion of the 4th Division in the 4th Great Ninja War, the Infinite Tsukuyomi that affects literally the entire world population, with the exception of Team 7 and Obito. And even if you're saying, well, but those are not ocular genjutsus, I mean, technically Infinite Tsukuyomi is kind of an ocular genjutsu, but it's the moon itself that casts the genjutsu. But we also have Sasuke paralyzing every single tail beast, all 9 of them, with his Rinnegan ocular genjutsu. And then you may even say, well, that was a Rinnegan, it's a more powerful dojutsu than just a Sharingan, or even a Mangekyo Sharingan. But the thing is, the finger genjutsu is not even an ocular genjutsu. It's a finger genjutsu. You just point, and that's it. You cast the genjutsu. So if there's one genjutsu it feels like you could spam and use on several targets at the same time, this is gonna be one of them. And honestly, this is a genjutsu that does not require a whole lot of chakra. So much so that Itachi uses it with his 30% body double against Team Kakashi. Itachi even says he wasn't able to use Tsukuyomi or his Mangekyo Sharingan powers because he was a body double, therefore he didn't have all his chakra and didn't have access to his most potent jutsus, but he was just fine using the finger genjutsu even with those limitations, meaning that this genjutsu won't require a massive amount of chakra. After all, he used that genjutsu and several other jutsus against Team Kakashi, even another genjutsu, a regular Sharingan ocular genjutsu on Kakashi at that same fight. So yeah, you could spam that. And then you may be saying, well, but then why didn't Itachi just cast the ephemeral genjutsu on Naruto, Kakashi, Chiyo, and Sakura at the same time and just won the fight? And the answer is actually pretty obvious. Because Itachi didn't want to win the fight. He's a double agent. He is working for the Leaf Village, and he was fighting against Leaf Ninjas. Obviously, he wouldn't want to kill any of the people he was fighting against. Because let's be real here, even if we don't count this quote-unquote hack of using 4 ephemerals at the same time, casting it on all his enemies, and defeating them pretty quickly, Itachi by himself, without that jutsu, could probably take care of those 4, even with a 30% body double. Yeah, maybe Kakashi would be too much with the help of the others for Itachi to take care of. And if Chiyo pulled out her most powerful puppets, yeah, maybe they take care of a body double Itachi. Obviously, the original Itachi, no, they wouldn't be able to do that. But regardless, Itachi did not want to defeat the enemy team. He just wanted to do enough to make it look to the Akatsuki he was doing his job and helping out and delaying the team from getting to the Kazekage, which was getting Shukaku extracted out of him. And so Itachi wouldn't want to win that fight, and therefore he wouldn't want to cast 4 ephemerals. But then again, if Itachi was the problem character here when it comes to how broken this jutsu was, it would be fine. After all, Itachi has several broken jutsus. I mean, pretty much every jutsu Itachi has access to is a hack in of itself. So if he has one more of it, I mean, yeah, the ephemeral genjutsu is really powerful, It's a jutsu Itachi would be able to spam more often, but it's just another overpowered Itachi jutsu. Itachi never really loses any fights to begin with, so it's fine if Itachi has it. The problem is, why don't other people use that jutsu? Like, can you imagine how much more efficient the Uchiha clan as a whole could have been if they had access to the Ephemeral Genjutsu, for example? On top of being able to use the regular Sharingan Genjutsu, having the Ephemeral to fool their opponents just like Itachi did against Kakashi's team would be a great weapon for them to have in their arsenal. I would imagine someone like Sasuke would love this Genjutsu as well. And if you arm the entire Uchiha population, well, when they were alive at least, with this Genjutsu where they can shoot with their fingers and cast Genjutsu on whoever they want without any need for eye contact or even visual contact at all, they would be an extremely formidable threat to anyone, and especially when it comes to the police force, which just so happened to be the Uchiha clan. Having a Genjutsu that could subdue the target without you even having to look at the target is probably the best ability a police force can have access to. Also, imagine the applications for this jutsu in a literal battlefield during the 3rd Great Ninja War, for example. A squadron of Uchihas could just rush another enemy squadron and start just finger gunning Genjutsus on them until they'll get paralyzed. Or you could even lay an ambush where the enemy doesn't know the Uchihas are close by and you just finger gun Genjutsus on them and that's it. The 4th Raikage, for example, seems to be a guy that doesn't handle Genjutsu very well, and he was a big enemy during the 3rd Great Ninja War. And yes, Killer Bee was always escorting him, and Killer Bee is immune to regular Genjutsu like that, because even if you cast Ephemeral on Bee, the 8-Tails can just break him out of. The Ephemeral Genjutsu could still be a very good distraction at least, when you're fighting against very powerful opponents. But as I said before, this jutsu is only used that one time in the Naruto series. Which leads me to believe Itachi probably just developed that jutsu by himself. After all, it's not a Sharingan jutsu, meaning that it's not a Kekkei Genkai that you can only use if you have the Sharingan, meaning that it doesn't really have to be an Uchiha jutsu. Even though the Uchiha jutsus are not the only jutsus that the clan has access to and that are considered to be the clan's jutsus, we have the Fireball jutsu as another example for that. Most specific Uchiha jutsus are going to be related to the Sharingan. And when it comes to other jutsus like the Fireball jutsu, for example, other people can learn it because it's not a Kekkei Genkai. The same thing could be said about the Ephemeral Genjutsu. If the Uchiha clan had access to it, and if other Leaf Ninjas saw that jutsu as really powerful and useful, they would try to learn it, especially someone like Kurenai, for example, that's a Genjutsu specialist, and would probably be able to master the jutsu. And then you may say, well, but the Uchiha clan wouldn't want to spread that Genjutsu around, because first of all, they didn't trust the Leaf Village so much so that they try to coup, but also it's just basic clan policy not to give away your jutsus. For example, the Shadow Possession Jutsu is not a Kekkei Genkai, it's a hidden jutsu of the Nara clan, they just don't give it around. But because we never see another Uchiha ever using this Genjutsu, even though it could have been useful in several opportunities, and just overall a Genjutsu that would break the verse if more people have access to it, the simplest and safest assumption is that Itachi is the only person who has access to it, and probably invented the jutsu. He developed that Finger Genjutsu, which is a logical conclusion as an Uchiha like Itachi for you to come to. After all, Itachi was probably used to fighting against people who just wouldn't stare into his eyes, which I would imagine could get annoying at some point, like, oh really? Are you going to avoid my eyes in every single fight so I cannot cast a Genjutsu on you? Well, let me go ahead and invent a Genjutsu you can't counter that way, so let's see how that's gonna work for you. And Itachi is the type of guy that's a genius, capable of creating new, extremely powerful and inventive jutsus like that. And a reason why Itachi wouldn't use this jutsu more often is because he fights against people that are really good at countering Genjutsu, like Sasuke, for example. I mean, Itachi and Sasuke trade Genjutsu for 3 chapters during their fight, and Sasuke breaks out of Tsukiyomi, meaning that, yeah, Genjutsu is useless here. The Genjutsu fight is not going to take us anywhere, let's move on to Ninjutsu. And the other fights Itachi is having are against people he doesn't really want to beat because they're from the Leaf Village. I mean, Sasuke as well, but Sasuke was at least a fight he had to die in and pretend he was trying hard. The only other real opportunities for Itachi to use that Genjutsu would be in the work, in the fights against first Naruto and Bee when he was still under the Edo Tensei control, even though B is immune to Genjutsu, and we actually see that in the fight itself. Itachi casts a Genjutsu on B, and the Eight Tails has to break him out of. And let's be real here, the casting of the Genjutsu was off screen, and Naruto had told B not to look into Itachi's eyes, so maybe there was a Finger Genjutsu. Then again, Itachi tells B not to look into his eyes after he breaks out of the Genjutsu, so yeah, B just probably looked into Itachi's eyes because he forgot or he got careless. So it's likely that Genjutsu Itachi cast on B wasn't ephemeral. Another moment the Ephemeral Genjutsu could have been useful was in the fight against Kabuto, because Kabuto famously covered his eyes and he was just fighting through sensing pretty much. Specifically to negate the Sharingan Genjutsu. After all, he was fighting against Mangekyo Sharingan Itachi and Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan Sasuke. Well, a powerful Genjutsu that could have been useful in that situation would be the Ephemeral Genjutsu, even though because Kabuto is really powerful, especially in that state in the war arc, and seems to be pretty capable with Genjutsu, it's likely he would be able to break out of the simple Ephemeral Genjutsu by himself, something Naruto couldn't do in the past, but obviously then Naruto in the Kazekage Rescue Arc would be much worse at breaking out of Genjutsu than Kabuto in the war arc. The only other time Itachi could have casted Ephemeral was against Naruto as well during the Itachi Pursuit arc. Remember that scene when Naruto meets Itachi in the forest by himself and Itachi shoves a crow into Naruto's mouth? So Naruto encounters Itachi, a few shadow clones try to jump Itachi from behind and he just tosses kunais destroying the clones, and then Naruto rushes Itachi, but Itachi just gets him in a Genjutsu. Like, we don't even see how that happened. Now, maybe yes, Naruto could have looked into Itachi's eyes, but that would be a pretty massive oversight by Naruto because he knew about Itachi's Genjutsu capability, especially ocular Genjutsu. I mean, he's literally the guy that got Ephemeral casted on him, and he was avoiding Itachi's eyes anyway. And Naruto just rushes him without much thought and gets captured in a Genjutsu. I want to believe he wasn't staring directly into Itachi's eyes, meaning that could have been an Ephemeral Genjutsu that was cast very subtly. And this is another thing, we don't know how long you have to point your finger at the target to cast a Finger Genjutsu, but if you can do it very quickly, imagine how powerful this Genjutsu could be for someone as fast as Itachi, who can move his hands so quick people don't even see him weaving hand signs. He could literally point his finger at multiple targets in way under a second and cast the Genjutsu, and that would be it. So it's just an extremely broken jutsu that Itachi only uses once, maybe a little more, we don't know, and that Itachi himself probably developed. And when Itachi died, the Genjutsu died with him because he never taught anyone. I mean, the only person he would probably even try to teach that, if he had the chance to, would be Sasuke, but he definitely didn't because, I mean, he died in the fight against Sasuke, and he didn't really teach Sasuke any jutsus when they encountered each other during the war arc. Please like the video if you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe, and please ring notifications. This is really important for the channel, and it's also great for you guys to watch my videos as well. Some videos slip through the algorithm and you never get to watch them. Click on the video on your screen for more cool Naruto content, and thank you so much for watching.